Alrighty, how's it going? Time to do a little bit more coding again, hey? Alright, so, I figured a few things out since last week. Maybe I figured them out last week, I don't know. I can't remember what I talked about. It's been a week, God. Alright, so, I have some ideas for the game. So, as it stands now, I never really had plans for the game, right? The entire point of this was just rebuilding my first game ever. I wanted to just do a better job than I did at the first one. But it's all sort of starting to fall into place now as it's starting to come together. I've just had a bunch of ideas that make the game make more sense. So the name of the game is Rebuilt to Protect, which doesn't make sense currently because you're just a dude that shoots enemies. Like, what the fuck? Player is a remote controlled robot. That's the new idea. Enemies drop parts. Parts can be used between rounds to upgrade the player and weapons. Special enemies drop blueprints to unlock new upgrades between rounds, and they're persistent. So basically, you might go for run number 1. You get to round 5 and die, but you kill a special enemy and you unlock the next blueprint that gets you a little bit further in your next playthrough. You know what I mean? So that I like. So to do that, we have to make enemies drop parts. We have to modify the upgrade system to cost parts, and also make the upgrades unlockable and sort of start off with only basic upgrades. So we're gonna have to modify this the upgrade system quite a lot, and then redesign the enemy spawning. So as it stands, we only have spawning for one enemy, and it's not very adaptable. It sort of just works as is. And we need to figure out a way to make it a little bit more expensive. Oh, and there's another thing that we need to do. So, as a part of the player being a robot, being like a rebuilt version of the robot, is the way we're going to design it is going to make every enemy playable, which could be really fucking cool. So that way we could actually be the brute, you know? So you would have to unlock separate upgrades for him, I suppose. But there's a world where we could have the character be the brute, or you could unlock that as a character. That could be cool. And as well as that and any other enemies we end up making down the line. Alright, so where do we want to start? We can redesign the player? I don't know, man. I really don't know. I was thinking about this before stream and realized just how much there is to do. So making the enemies drop parts, that's absolutely doable. That's probably one of the easiest things on this list. But it doesn't make sense unless we redesign the spawning first, right? Because we don't have enemies on the map at the moment. And a part of the making enemies drop parts is going to be making upgrades and the modified upgrades system sort of all in the same. It's just it's all one and the same, you know? Basically. But I think the spawning system sort of all of these issues seem to stem from the spawning. So I think that's what we got to start. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. So I've had a few ideas. I've thought about this a little bit. So, hang on, let me just bring up some paint. I've thought about this a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean not much. Alright, so as it is now, imagine this is time, or Tim, and this is difficulty, right? The way I've got it set up now is I've just straight up done math for it. I haven't really done it's not complicated, it's just an exponential curve that as the curve gets higher and higher, it gets slightly more difficult. Hang on, I can show it to you. It's not, like I said, it's actually not that complicated. Where the fuck is it though? Enemy spawner, where have I got that hiding? I thought it would be in the managers, it's not. Enemy states. Where is it? Enemy spawn. Right there. Alright, so spawn enemies. Where is it doing it? Nearest enemy, spawn pod. Spawn locations, get wave pods. Okay, get wave score here. So basically what this is doing is it's saying for every wave index, so this is like this is that x-axis, the wave. So, actually, no, sorry. This is this one. Don't think of that as time, think of that as the wave we're on. Actually, no, I've done this stupid, hang on. I've done this on a stupid axis. This is the difficulty. And then this is the wave we're on. So as we move forward through the waves, it's going to get higher and higher in difficulty. It's going to look something like that. Though probably not exactly that loop. But that is essentially what I've done. So we're using math.power, which is just the power of the wave index. So if we could graph that, I could show you what that looks like in an actual graph. Probably, if I remember how to actually... It's been a while since I've used this. Y equals X... it's the power of X. Power? How do you do the power in this thing? What did I actually do? Hang on. So the difficulty equals the power of wave index. Alright. Plus an initial score. Alright. So how do I do power in this? I just gotta quickly do that. How to do power in Desmos. Alright, X to the power of... Okay, get it. It's been a minute. I don't do a lot of it. It's X to the power of... Whoop. Is that not it? Oh, right. I get it. Okay. And I did that by a constant. So the difficulty increase constant. Which... I don't know what I've got that set to here. Enemy spawner. Difficulty increase, which is 1.5. There. So that's sort of what the difficulty increase looks like for us. Except I've done a little offset, which is... we're going to call it... base. Which is basically like a difficulty offset. So it's got to start somewhere. You know what I mean? And in mine, I think I do +4. Something like that. How do I... There we go. Just... Yeah. And there we go. That is our difficulty curve as it stands. Jesus Christ, I press Control and zoom. Beautiful, isn't it? We need to make that a little bit more complicated, because all that's doing now is saying, well, how many enemies do we want to spawn here? Well, on wave 10, we're going to spawn 36 enemies. On wave 3, we're going to spawn 9.3. Basically, that's it. I don't know. Am I explaining this right? Probably not. I've not long woke up, and I've been pretty cooked recently. So, but we need to change that. So maybe instead of doing a constant wave up like that, we could make it so that it goes from like this up to wave 5. And then maybe we change the spawn conditions. Maybe we add in a new different enemy. And then this is where brutes come in or something like that. And then the curve goes like that again. And then again. And then again. And then again. You know what I mean? So the difficulty increases. We can even, it has to be an accurate curve, but at each of these points here, we could introduce a new enemy. Or there could be a checkpoint in the... Not a checkpoint so much, but like one of the milestones where it's going to spawn those difficult enemies. Those special enemies we were talking about. So, the question becomes, how do we create that? I'm not sure. I'm really not. So what is this doing currently? Alright, so it's spawning the enemies for each round. And for every round it has a list of pods that it needs to spawn. And it is spawning them every so often. And I'm doing the timer in the dumb way where I'm adding delta time every frame again, like an idiot. So in the start next round, we're getting a wave score, which is that initial thing. Those get wave pods is going to... So where should we begin? Where's this being called from? It's just being called every frame during a round. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so what I'm thinking... I'm actually really not sure. The main thing I'm thinking of is how do I can do that bit there. Oops, sorry. I can do this bit here. But what determines the step? And the reason I'm doing this is because I want a mixture of hard coding and procedural. Like at a certain point, we can just make it so that, you know, maybe say this is round 30 here. There is like a hard cutoff, and then everything above here just is just going to continue whatever this last curve was. So I think what we need let us plan this out a little bit more, hey? So we'll take this, we'll go into our draw IO. And we'll open up the class diagram that we were dicking around with last time. Where would that be? Right here. Alright, so these are the enemies. We don't care about that. Enemies. Do 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 do. Okay. Jesus Christ. All these different programs. So different with how you move around the thing. God. Alright. This is going to be... This doesn't make sense, does it, doing it in a class diagram? No, not so much. Okay. So what I'm imagining is in the same way... God damn it, I can't. How do you move? Like, how do you actually move around? Middle click doesn't do it. Right click doesn't do it. Left click doesn't do it. Shift, middle click doesn't do it. It's just fucking stupid. Stupid. You gotta actually use the scroll bars to go around. Alright. Anyway, so the way we're gonna do this bit here, I think is... That needs to be its own... We need a list of difficulty curves. I think. And... Yeah. So in the same way that we are sampling this get wave score function, we're going to have an array of difficulties. And depending on the round that you're in, it will pick from a different difficulty. It will then get the wave score. It will have this own function in it. And it will have this function in it as well. So depending on the wave... Or it'll just have a different list of enemies. So depending on where it is in the wave score and which of the difficulty curves it chooses, will depend on the kind of enemies that get spawned and how it gets... Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Okay, what are you being used for? Go away then. That was for troubleshooting earlier. Don't need it. Current direction. Don't need it. Target direction. Don't need it. Test pause. Also don't need it. We good? Yes. Good. Okay. So, we're going to have another class up here, which is going to be a public class of type, not of type, but we're going to call it a difficulty curve. Sure, why not? Do I have a better name? No. Okay, so we need to know what waves that it's going to be used on. If that makes sense. God, I had such a good stream last weekend. I'm so cooked this weekend. I'm sorry, man. Anyone that might arrive or watch the VOD one day? Probably not. Oh well. I'm determined to make these coding streams work, though. Okay, so the difficulty curve, it's going to need a public int of start wave. Having an end wave will probably be redundant. System.serializable, sorry, my bad. Yeah, so if I have like a start from to wave, then the next curve ahead of it its end wave will be the start wave. Well, this one's end wave will be the start wave of the curve above it, so it doesn't need to... We don't need redundant information. God, shut up. I can't express my point today. Alright. Sorry, I'm just thinking about everything again. I knew what needed to be done for this stream. I didn't know how to implement any of it. I didn't know how to actually do it. Or what I was even going to do. Redesign enemy spawning system. That is what I want to do. I think it is necessary to hard code this part, at least specifically this start wave. So the point that I'm starting to question is, so we have a start point, we don't need to know how many things it's going to go. It needs a public list of enemies. Okay, public list of enemies. How do I say that? Spawnable enemy. Trust me, trust me, trust me. This is going to be an array of a class we haven't created yet. System.serializable. Jesus Christ! Come on, type. That. Spawnable enemies. Like that. And that is going to have a public game object. Enemy prefab. And that is also going to have a public float that is basically going to be an enemy cost. So if it has a high cost, then there's going to be less of them per round. I don't know if it needs to be a float or an int yet. We'll make it an int. And then we'll call it enemy cost. I'm fully just winging this at the moment, by the way. Alright, so this is the difficulty curve is going to have a list of spawnable enemies. Each of those enemies is going to have an enemy cost. So we could have a public void evaluate. Which takes in for like an int for the wave score. Yeah, and then it would use in here. We would have to basically figure out what enemies to use. Alright. So the part of this we haven't incorporated yet is the actual difficulty curve. The curve part of this difficulty. So we need to start wave. How do we implement this? What's the math? I'm not sure. Give me 2 seconds. I gotta go pee though. Be right back. Alright, I'm back. So, what would really be great is an actual visualization tool of this. Alright, so the way this works down here, the way it works to return this thing here. So, I'm just trying to figure out how to get it to restart this curve at the end of each of them. But we need to know not really. I was just thinking, I was trying to imagine it like this, where at this point here, where it sort of transitions from one curve to another, they'd have to meet up. But they don't. We could do it like this, where you get to level 5, and it starts there. But then the difficulty curve as you go to the next round, might go down a little bit. Something like that. I'm not sure. Man. My troubleshooting and... Like, there's probably a... Like, I'm probably a dumbass. There's probably a way to do this. Like, I'm fully inventing my own solution for this. Like, is there a way? Let's just see. Wave... Spawning... Yeah, wave spawning Unity. Alright.
What's up, developers? I'm That1 Unity Dev, and today we'll be taking a look at how to implement a more interesting enemy spawner for your wave-based game. Imagine you're playing a wave-based game where the first wave is 10 slimes, 5 bats, and 1 chicken. Eventually, you lose, you retry the game, and then you go back to the first wave, and bam, you're greeted by those same 10 slimes, 5 bats, and 1 chicken. Okay, no big deal. You carry on playing, having fun for a while, until you die yet again. You restart, and what do you know? You see your pals from before waiting for you on the first wave. You get a little agitated this time, shrug your shoulders, and you press onward. Until eventually, you die, and you try again. And again, and again, and again. Okay, maybe this example is a little extreme, but you get the point. As game developers, it's easy to forget how something so simple impacts the people that play your game. So let's fix the problem by creating a system that makes unique waves. In this tutorial, instead of predefined waves, we'll create a point-based system, which will scale upwards and select enemies for each wave based on a cost. To save a bit of time,
pretty much what I was doing.
I set up a new 2D project with basic sprites as well as logic for the player and a couple of enemies. Then, after everything was set up, I created an empty game object named it Wave Spawner, created a new Wave Spawner script, and attached it to the Wave Spawner object. Before we get into the actual programming, it'd be a good idea to come up with a plan and lay out how this thing will work.
I'm trying.
The best way to describe the system would be to imagine it as sort of a shop. For example, let's say the wave spawner starts with 10 currency, which you can spend however it pleases. Now, let's say a slime costs 1 currency. So the wave spawner chooses it, writes it to a list, and now I have 9 currency remaining. It then continues buying monsters until its currency reaches 0. And that's the essence of how this works. So, let's get on with the code. We'll create a new public class in our wave spawner.
Yeah, I think I was overcomplicating it a little bit. Trying to do curves at all is kind of overkill. I could just make it so that... which fucking... Jesus. Too many goddamn programs. Couldn't figure out which one I needed. I could just make it... My bad. Hang on, how do I... I just want to... Fuck! How do I make everything in that red? I don't know. Alright, we're starting again. As you can tell, I'm not very good at paint. But alright. So the way we can do that is in the same way that he did it. We just have it linear. And then we just say that... Right here, oops, right here, right here, right here, and right here are places that other enemies get added to the shop, essentially, as in the metaphor that he's been using. That works well enough for me. So yes, in the same way that this has a thing, this difficulty curve is going to have a set... Actually, you know, we'll probably just bring that same math over here. And then we'll copy it instead of deleting it. Keep the program happier. So we'll take this, which is... That gave us the wave score. So we want int wave No, we don't need to do the wave score there. Because we're calculating it and we're pushing it in. So, in the wave score, we already know how much money we have, essentially, to buy enemies at the shop. So we're going to go through all of these. So if we do it randomly, I think that's essentially what he's implying, right?
Called in. We variables. Back.
Yeah, so this is exactly what I've started to do. So he's got the spawnable enemy too, where the prefab and the cost, the exact same thing that I've done.
After that, let's create a couple functions to hold some logic.
Yeah.
We can create one for generating the wave, and one for generating our enemies. Inside the generate wave function, we can set our wave value and call the generate enemies function. Now, to generate our enemies, we'll want to make a temporary list of enemies, then create a while loop which will repeat until we have no currency left.
Yeah.
In that loop, we will grab a random enemy, see if we can afford it, and if we can, we'll add it to our list, deduct it. I think that element of...
I was gonna make it deterministic. I didn't actually consider random waves like that. I don't think it'd be different. So I think that's fine. So yeah, for the way that we've set this up, this is stupid. This should be a small spawnable enemy. And then that's an array of spawnable enemies. Idiot. Alright, yeah, no, this is fine. Alright, so what I'm thinking is in order to make this work, we consider the drop pod prefab. I want to consider that the enemy. Maybe, right? Because I want to have it so that the brutes themselves aren't a drop pod. Fuck. So all enemies could come in pods. That wouldn't matter. Hang on, I'm chopping up. Fucking hell. This is driving me nuts. I need a second to be able to think about stuff. Alright, so every enemy could drop in pods. Right? That's absolutely fine. That would mean that the brute has to fit into a pod though. I was imagining him being dropped out of the sky pod that you can't see, and then just him landing straight through the roof. Like, that's how I was imagining that happening. But I suppose we could just put him in a dropship. That does make sense. You know? Like, that does make sense. So then how, when we pick from a list of the menu items on our shop, basically, wouldn't the wave score wouldn't be buying enemies, it would be buying enemy dropships. So say if it buys a foot soldier dropship, it might drop down a it'll give him a dropship with 4 foot soldiers in it or something like that. And then if it buys a brute dropship, then it just gives a dropship with 1 brute in it. Maybe. That makes sense? I don't know. Geez, this weed's a bit green still. Could use a little bit of sitting on the shelf. Yeah, there's so much I should be doing right now. I wish my brain worked. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be nice to have a brain that worked? Does anyone have one of those? I'd like it. That'd be cool. Jeez, cool. Yeah. I'm scratching my eye. What do you mean? What's that? I deleted you, didn't I? What are you doing? When did I do that? I think I was gonna make a... That's the enemy spawner. I was gonna say that was the upgrades. Yeah, see I have an editor upgrade menu over on the left, just underneath this one. This one. I don't know. That was obviously just a test that I was doing at some point. It's literally called a test function. Like that. That should make it happy. God. Yeah, right. Hang on, I'm nearly done. Nearly finished chopping. It'd be really nice. It'd just be really nice to have a tool in-game that could visualize the difficulty curve. Should we make that one day? It wouldn't be that hard, really. It's actually quite easy. I just need a UI element somewhere. I don't really know how Unity's UI elements work these days. Like actual like runtime editor elements. You know, like if I was to bring up like a, I don't know. I need to get back up to date on Windows 8. I need to do so much more stuff. God, I got like 5 fucking videos I'm working on as well. I'm close to finishing the Oblivion one. I'm close. Finally. I've only been working on it for like a week, but still, I'm close. I just need to figure out the intro. And then finish editing the rest of the episode. I've just got to do the entire thing, you know? No, I mean, I'm halfway through edit, like the final pass through, or like one of the final pass throughs. Getting rid of all like the little bits and connecting it all together and like adding little jokes and memes and zooming the camera in when necessary. Stuff like that. But then I gotta figure out the intro, which is... I've recorded the voiceover for it, I just need to figure out what's on screen for it. And that's fucking impossible, man. I hate that shit. I literally made myself mad last night by trying to figure it out. And then eventually just going, I don't know! Alright, I'm done. One thing I did notice. I want... Where are you? You. Copy that. And then redo everything else. Okay, we good? Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, on draw gizmos. We do want that Showbounds one. Yeah, fine. Okay. Okay. So yes, I think... I think it's going to be enemy drop pods. How do we do that? How do we implement that? So it's going to be... Yeah. Keep it simple. I think it's just each pod is going to have a set of enemies in it. And I'm going to hard code those pods. And those pods are going to be what have different costs. Okay. Alright, and what does a drop pod look like? What's that script look like? Yeah, that's just shit. I don't need this. Alright, so... it's going to be called a spawnable drop pod. And it's going to have a drop pod. Is it? Hang on. Okay, so the drop pod does have a list of enemies. And as we're doing it currently, we are spawning a drop pod. get wave pods. Alright, so it's generating a foot soldier pod. Yeah. Yeah, no, we need to change that. Which needs a... Okay, so each pod is going to need a kind of enemy. It's going to need an enemy count. And then it's going to need a pod cost. Or just a cost. Okay, yep. So then, like, the foot soldiers are going to be a game object of enemy prefabs. It's going to have 4 enemies in it, and it's going to cost 4 smackarons. Yep. Should I make that a scriptable object? If I make it a scriptable object, then multiple things can reference the exact same instance of that object. Of this class object. But if I do it as it is now, we're going to have an array of difficulty curves. And in the first one, we're going to have just normal foot soldier enemies, right? That's going to be all that's in this list of spawnable drop pods. Drop pods. And in that one, it's only going to be foot soldiers. But then in, maybe we get to wave 10. We're going to have 2 different kinds of spawnable drop pods in this. Which is going to be the brutes and the foot soldiers. But as it stands now, we would have to make another foot soldier one. So I think this should be a static class. Not a static class, that's wrong. Basically, like, if the time comes where I want to change the cost of a certain pod, I don't want to have to change it in every different difficulty curve. Oh, man. I think I've made the mistake of trying to start this by doing the expanded version, you know? Like, I should have just started with his simpler version. And made it do the same thing. Yeah. No, I think I think that's what I need to do. I think I need to have an object that is these. Yeah. Alright, let's do that. Alright. So we create a scriptable object. We need a new class for it. Definitely not my best. My best stream. So we need a spawnable drop. Spawnable drop pod object. Nah, I shouldn't have done that. Alright, and that's gonna derive from scriptable object. And that needs all of the same information that this one had. Already deleted it, dumbass. Just give me that. What are you doing? Jesus Christ. I don't know what the fuck just happened. I think I just had a mini stroke. Oh, and I copied the wrong fucking one. There. God damn, I'm really bad today. Alright, there it is. So a spawnable drop pod is going to be an enemy prefab. It's going to have an enemy count and it's going to have a cost. And that is going to be a drop pod right there. Essentially, right? And then the drop pod that we were working with before. My god, I made this so fucking weird. Just give me the drop pod script. I just need to know what that needs, basically. Where the fuck was it? Okay, this is the script that's attached to the drop pod. So on initialize, it needs these things. Got it. Okay. So, in the code we're gonna write, it's going to choose to buy one of these spawnable drop pods, right? Hang on. Enemy spawner. Oh my god, my brain, man. My fucking brain. I can't hold a thought for more than 2 seconds. It's been so bad over the last, week. I've been doing this in every regard. It's the same when I'm playing fucking Satisfactory as well. My brain just doesn't have it. Why do I have visual scripting? God. Link? What? I have an array of spawn locations there, and then I'm casting them to available locations? Okay, that's becoming a dynamic list. Okay, that's fair. Okay, fine, you can keep link. Alright, so much of this is just unnecessary and makes it so confusing that I don't know how to convert it to a new system. I done it so stupid the first time. I fully just lost where I need to go and what I need to do. My brain's fully just stalled. God fucking damn it. This is I literally have been feeling the same way on stream for the last week. I don't know why, hey. Maybe I'm just hitting the patch of depression or something. Okay, right, we can't actually create the scriptable object yet. Let's try and do that. We'll leave that there, we might need it. I can't remember how to do the scriptable object. How do I create one? This one. Is that all I need to do? Just do the create asset. And then that works for the... Alright. Let's try get my fucking brain back in the game. Alright, so we need enemies. We're going to do another folder here, I guess, which is going to be spawnable pods. And then somewhere in there, spawnable drop pod. And we're going to call this a foot soldier pod. It's going to have a enemy in it, the foot soldier prefab. For now, I'm going to also do mutant. Delete both of them. Where was I just at? Prefabs, enemies. Oh, I already done that. What? Foot Soldier Mark II, and the cost is going to be 4. Alright, and we'll do another one that is the mutant. We'll just create it from scratch. Brute pod. Which is just going to have one brute in it. And it's going to cost 5. This doesn't... Oh, whoops. Sorry, this doesn't have a way of considering half-filled pods. So say the round cost is 11, right? The round score is 11. If it bought a brute pod, that'd go down to 6. Right? And then if it bought a foot soldier pod for 4, then it would go down to 2. And then with those remaining 2, it wouldn't have anything to buy. So in that case, should we fill... Should we have a remainder pod? I don't know. Let's change the way we do this, alright? So, instead of it being a spawnable pod, we are going to say max enemy count. And it is going to be enemy cost. So a mutant can only have 1, and it is going to cost 5. Alright, so that changes nothing there. A foot soldier, the maximum amount it can have is 4, and each enemy is going to cost 1. So that way we can half fill them. Alright. So in the enemy spawner, okay, we need to figure out what we need and what we don't need. Alright, so drop pod for prefab, we need that. Enemy prefab. Oh, I won't delete it, we'll just comment it out. Spawn height. Where are we using that? What? Oh, right, the drop pod spawn height. Alright, yeah, no, that's cool. Alright, map center, map size, spawn locations. Yep, all good, all good. Alright, so it's this that's going to be the difference. So, instead of that, we're going to have a serialized field, which is going to be an array of difficulty curves. We're just gonna call it difficulty curves. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of all these. Not the drop pod spawn delay, sorry, that's good. Difficulty increase. Probably keep that. Alright, so when we start a round, figure out how many drop pods to instantiate. Spawning in progress equals true. Score, get wave score of current wave. Alright, so we have the wave score right there. And then pods to spawn. So this get wave score function needs to change. Actually, no, probably keep that. Oh, I've got a better idea. Alright, get rid of this difficulty curves bullshit. That's dumb. That's dumb. Alright, get rid of all that difficulty curve. Alright. So what we're going to do, instead, is we're going to have a public... Not public. Serialized field. And it's going to be a field of valid drop pods we can spawn, basically. So yeah, up here, instead of enemy prefabs, we're going to have a spawnable drop pod array. No, 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 no. So these are going to be all the different kinds of drop pods that can be spawned ever. Which is going to be all it was called spawnable drop pods. Jesus Christ, I can't think of it. I can't think of a better way to write that. Then wave generation. This doesn't need to be an actual serialized field. We're going to go down here. Available locations. Pods to spawn. We're going to create another list of spawnable drop pods. And it's going to be called the enemy pool, basically. Or the pod pool. Or the pod shop. Okay, and that's going to be a list of spawnable drop pods. And it's going to be called... yeah, the pod pool. Right? Okay, maybe. That's more of an optimization thing. I don't need to do that, actually. Alright, so these are going to be all the different kinds of spawnable drop pods. Every one of these spawnable drop pods is actually going to have another one, which is public int start wave. So for something like brutes, we don't want them to be coming before round 5, say. So we start them off at round 5. So, and then when we figure out all these pods down here, sorry. I'm trying to get there, I'm trying to figure it out. Spawn next pod, get random location, get wave pods. Alright, here. So this get wave pods, this is where we're queuing up all the different objects. Alright, we're creating a list of drop pods. Or a queue specifically. Why is it ever... just say pods to spawn equals new. And do that. Alright, that works. Alright, alright. So this is what we're going to get rid of. That one there. You're going to have the array of enemies in here. Okay, so... So in here, let's just get rid of all of that. So, in the same way that what it was doing before, we are going to say, find a random, hang on, not find, pick a random dropship to drop pod, sorry, to spawn, to add, check if it's a valid pod for wave, and then add that pod to a list. Right? Easy. Easy. So, to do that, we're going to have a list, not a list, a loop, and it's just going to say, oh no, it's just going to be just like a random, no, we're going to do it in a different one here. Alright, so this is going to be a, this is going to return a drop pod, I guess. Alright, alright. Get random pod. So it is going to loop over all of the different pods. Oh my god, I can't fucking... Oh my god, my brain's so fried. It's like I haven't eaten properly or something. I don't know, I haven't slept properly in a month. I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, usually you're sitting there smoking weed, that's why you're fucking dumb. No, that's not it. I do this shit all the fucking time and it never hurts me this bad. I'm actually... I might have another one. Maybe I should make another coffee. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm just fucking depressed, honestly. I feel like it's just a batch of depression. Where you just sort of out of nowhere, your body just decides, you're gonna feel like shit for a couple weeks. Have fun. Alright. This is going to be a loop. We do the loop 10 times. And every one of these 10 will hard-code it. How... Um. I don't know, we'll just call it a pod search depth of like 100. So basically, if it doesn't do it in this amount of time, then we're going to return null. Okay. Man, this really isn't hard. I just get, every time I start to get like a little bit of headway, my brain breaks and I die. Alright, so we're getting a random pod, which is basically, sorry, we're not even going to put in the loop yet. We'll do that in a minute. So, to get a random pod, we're going to say spawnable drop pods, and we're going to get a random dot value. Math.floor. Random value times spawnable drop pods dot length. Count? Length. Length. Alright. So that will return a pod. And then we'll just say if that spawnable drop pod dot start wave is less than or equal to the current wave. And if it is less than the current wave, then that's a valid pod. Alright. But we're going to do it this a different way. Int index is going to be this. The random pod is going to be that. And we're going to say if the random pod is more than the current wave, then return spawnable pods. Ran. Alright, and that is going to be the bit that I'm confused about, that I just noticed, was the pods to spawn is, it should be a drop pod. We'll make it a drop pod. So we're going to pick a random random drop pod, and we're going to do that by going into here. This is going to return a drop pod. And in here we would have succeeded. This would have been a fail. Debug.log. Warning. It hurts. Alright, so what it's going to do, it's going to get random pod, it's going to come in here, and instead of just returning it like that, we can always squish this down a little bit more. So, it needs to convert this pod that we've now decided to choose, this spawnable drop pod, into a drop pod. Okay. No. Hang on. So what this has done... Sorry. This is going to be... Pick random... enemy type, or pick random spawnable pod right there, and then we're going to see, we're going to validate this pod. Validate pod based on wave. There, good. And then we need to validate pod based on cost. On cost. So if int score if score is more than or equal to spawnable drop pods random that we've picked dot enemy cost, then we're good. We can also pick this pod. So we can then generate a pod based on that. So we need another function that is going to return a drop pod. Generate drop pod. And it is going to take in a spawnable drop pod. Alright, and the way that's going to work is it is going to take this here, so this before wasn't being called until afterwards. So we've changed it a little bit here. Because it's generating a full... Because we're generating the full drop pod, not just an array of objects, it's happening a lot sooner. So this spawn drop pod, where we're turning in the wave information into a drop pod before spawning it, that was happening here. So spawn drop pod. What's happening here at the spawn next pod? Is there a way to keep that as it is? Hmm. So I think you kind of want it all to be generated at once. And then you could probably even do it in parallel. You don't have to do it, like, you don't have to halt the computer to do it. As in, like, generate all this wave information at the start of each wave. So generating a drop pod here would spawn a drop pod. And as soon as a pod spawns, it's going to start dropping. Which isn't how I want to do it. So maybe we do need to just have this as a list of... There's pods to spawn. Maybe it does need to be a game object array. So this needs to return a game object array. An array of enemies. Which generate foot soldier pod before. What did that look like? I don't have it anymore, do I? Yeah, no, I don't. Damn. So is that just referencing the foot soldier prefab 4 times? I'm not sure. Alright, so if we've picked a kind of pod or a kind of enemy, and we need to take in an int score. Alright, and this is going to create a game object array. And the length of that array is going to be enemies. Is going to equal a new game object array. And the length is going to be either a minimum of... So it'll be math.min between the spawnable dot max enemy count and score. So if score is 100 and we still have a bunch more to go, then it's only going to create an enemy list. It's only going to create a list of 4. And then if, opposingly, if the score's 2, we only have 2 points left. It's going to be score times... Hang on. Int max buyable enemies. is going to equal the most amount of enemies that you could buy from this pod with the score we have. Is going to be score divided by cost, right? So if the score's 10 and each enemy is cost 5, then it should be 10 divided by 5, which should be 2. Like that. Except we want to almost always floor it to an int. Because you can never buy half an enemy. So math.floor. See what I mean? I'm weirdly waking up now that I've smoked more weed. My brain's slowed down enough to actually do it. Floor to int. Sorry, my bad. My bad, homie. Sorry. Alright, so generate new pod. Is there a clean way to set all values of an array to the same value? Because it would be better to just have one reference to a game object and then an int of count, right? It is stupid the way we've done it here. Yeah, no, that is stupid. So in here, instead of having enemies like that, we would have enemy prefab and an int for enemy count. And then the same here. Enemy and int enemy count. Nope. Enemy prefab equals enemy. Enemy. Is that how you spell enemy? Now I feel like I've seen it and typed it so many times. Yeah. Enemy count equals enemy count. Okay, and this needs to be the same. No, there's no point for the drop pod to have access to the enemies. There. Because we're only using it here. Okay. So the pod spawning is going to look at the drop pod and which is this. No, it's not. We can replace up here. We'll say if instance dot spawn next enemy. If not that, then we're finished spawning. Like that. Now, it's mad at me because of this. Spawn next enemy doesn't exist in the sense of drop pod here. It will in a second. Public void spawn next enemy. We can get rid of enemies there as well. We are going to say if no, and it is going to be a bool, my bad. If enemy count is more than 0, then we're going to spawn the next enemy, which originally was using this line right here. So we spawn an enemy by giving it a prefab. And a position. How will we get in the position? Ah, the drop pod knew its location. So what was that passing in to get that? That right there. So we can just hand it to it right there. Get rid of it from there. We no longer need it in here. Alright, and so when we spawn next enemy, God, this has been a hell of a fucking stream. It's been a lot of coding. So enemy spawner dot enemy count. Yes, if enemy count is more than that, then we're going to return. Hang on, no, we're going to go enemy count minus minus. Then we'll say if so we want this to return false on the last enemy when it finishes spawning the last enemy. Right? Was that how it was doing it before? Yep, basically. So if this equals 0 now, or below it, then we want to return false. So we'll just say return enemy count is more than 0. Because if it's 0, then it will return false. If it's more than 0, it'll return true. And if we can make it to here, then we will just return false. Because there's nothing to spawn. Enemy count already is equal to 0. Doesn't need this. We should never encounter it, but there it goes. So that is just going to be instance.spawn next enemy. We can get rid of this. Time since last spawn is wrong. How do I do this properly? I think I want to just do last spawn time equals this. If last spawn time hang on. How am I doing this anywhere else? My brain's dying again. Enemy chasing here. Last update time plus update rate is less than time. Alright, yep. Last update time plus spawn delay is more than or equal to time.time. Then do it. And then last spawn time equals time.time. There we go. Should be the same. Fuck, now we're really in the source. I've done so much. I've changed so much. I don't even remember where we're at. Alright, where's the... What are you mad at me about? Alright, so generate the drop pod. We are going to return... generate drop pod. We're going to throw in spawnable drop pods.random and pass in the score. Then down here where we generate the pod, we're going to say the enemy type that we've found. No, I've changed it again, haven't I? So that this drop pod doesn't actually... So I do need another little helper class here. Which is going to be something like... pod to spawn. Or something like that. Actually, no. What? Okay, so this is trying to pick a random pod. Right, like this is actually doing that. Get a random pod. Yeah, no, I think I was right with that. So we'll have a pod to spawn. Which is going to have a game object, enemy prefab, it's going to have an enemy count. Skip the creepy song. Alright, so pods to spawn is going to be a queue of pod to spawn. Crazy, right? So this is going to be a new queue of pods to spawn. This is also going to return a pod to spawn. So is this. Okay. So the max amount of enemies, that's what we're figuring out. We need to figure out, we've already used that there. So we're either going to do the max amount that the drop pod can hold or the max amount we can afford. And then we're going to say that a pod to spawn pod equals a new pod to spawn. We should probably create a constructor, right? And pod cost. I may be doing this way too stupidly. Maybe. Who knows? Okay. Pod to spawn. Generate constructor. No, generate constructor with all of them. There it is. What are you doing? Nope. Someone's having fun on a motorbike out there. There it is. Alright. Alright, where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? We gotta be getting close to figuring this shit out now. Okay, so a new pod to spawn. We need an enemy prefab. We're gonna be spawnable dot enemy prefab. we're going to say that int enemy count equals this, my bad. And then the cost is going to be enemy count times spawnable enemy cost. Yeah, right? Generate pod to spawn. Alright, so we've done it. So we're going to add this into a loop. I is going to be max search attempts. Set it at 100. So it'll have 100 attempts at trying to find this. Right? And then if we find Alright. Alright, so while score is more than 0, we are going to say pods to spawn dot enqueue. Hang on, no, we need to actually... Pod to spawn is going to be equal to get random pod. We're going to pass in the score. That's going to do its thing. It's going to return a pod. And then we're going to say score minus equals pod to spawn dot cost. What was it? Okay, that's just the cost of the entire pod. Alright, I think that's it. We just need to figure out the error, like the little errors. So there, pod.init. What about that are you not liking now? Oh, it just needs to know the enemy count. Oh, yeah. Oh, really? You can put so that's a game object going in as an enemy to the init value. That is a game object array. Didn't know that. So spawn next pod. Easy. That's going to be a pod to spawn. And chuck that in there. Then down here where it was mad at us. What was it mad at us? I missed it. There. Da. Enemy prefab and PTS dot enemy count. Yep, good. So pods to spawn is going to be a single pod. Alright. Shit. Alright, there's no way after 2 hours of fucking banging my head against the wall that any of that worked. What the fuck? Those are positive. I did make those redundant. And spawn index. I don't need that anymore. Or location. I don't need that anymore. Alright. If this fucking works, this is gonna be the most crack shit I've ever done. The fact... remember this, like, the stray... Yeah, just remember the stray inputs, like that. Alright. We're going to set the start wave to 0 for both of them now. There's no fucking way this works, right? What happens? What happens? I have actually got spawning turned off. Hang on. I had that turned off. How did I have spawning turned off? I had it turned off for testing and shit. Maybe? Just gotta figure out what triggers it to begin with. So is it somewhere in the game manager? I don't remember how I've turned off sporting. Alright, let's just walk through this. I don't even actually know how to turn spawning back on now. So we press play. Loving the torso there. Should probably fix that. Alright, so wave doesn't start coming. How have I turned it off? Where does that get called from? Start next round. Game during round. When it enters the during round, it does that. What in the game manager sets the... round in progress? Oh, I'm just not ticking the state machine. Okay, now what happens? Alright, we'll full screen it again. I'm pretty sure that was it. Okay, wave incoming. No errors. I hear something. Oh, that's odd. Whoa. What's happened? Sorry. Oh, what happened? Huh. So that drop pod, I don't think had any information in it. Shit, actually do that again. I want to see what information it did have. One spawned over here. Hello? Is anyone in there? Why no one in there? Debug. Enemy count 1. 2, 4, 1, 1. What are you doing? So is it calling this spawn next enemy function? Hit. Hit me with your mission. Alright, let's try that. See if we're getting a hit there. I might have just forgot to like add a line somewhere. I probably did. I'm just gonna find where the line is. Alright, before it even hits, what do we got? 4, 1. Alright, I'm not getting any hits. Which means that wasn't getting called. This spawn next enemy shit was never getting called. We'll just see my sister screaming in the background because, I don't know, she's an idiot. Where's that being called from? It's being called from... So it's hitting the on ground and it's breaking. And it's saying is grounded equals true, right? Yeah, because I was just looking up inside it. Is less than time. Then try spawning. Yeah. Time's gonna get past that. That's actually even more insane if the only thing that I'd fucked up for that entire thing was crocodile biting the left hand instead of the right hand. You know, it's got to bite the bigger number. Oh my fucking god. They're at me! They're coming! Oh my fucking god, it works! Alright, and then... I could make that so that that doesn't start until wave 3, maybe. You know? Ooh, we did it! We actually did it. I made a more expansive spawning system. Currently, the difficulty curve still looks like this. I didn't end up changing it away from that. But here we are, you know? It's a good curve. What should it be? Should it be 1.5 or should it be... That's an offset so it doesn't start at 0. And then, how have I actually done it in the difficulty curve? I just put difficulty 1.5 there. But I could make that a separate variable of, say, D for difficulty slider. So as long as it's between 1 and anything above it. Yeah. Just makes it slightly more fancy than linear. Don't think it really makes much of a difference, does it? I don't know. But goddamn, that was it. We done did it. Redesign enemy spawning system. I did it. Holy shit. I didn't actually expect to do that today. Do we want to keep going? Fuck it, we might keep going. So what else do we have? We got modify, upgrade system, make enemies drop parts, make every enemy playable. Ugh. The making every enemy playable, that is going to come linked with this. As another one that I had. Well, it's actually come linking with a couple of things apparently. That there, redesign player to be our own. And one other thing, where are you? This one, redesign player to be rigid body based. So as it stands now, all the enemies are rigid body based. The player is not. He is the only thing using a character controller. And I think I'm going to change that. But that's a big day. That's going to be a big day. It's going to take us a minute to figure that out. I need to do some more coding through the week. Keep my brain sort of in the groove of it, you know? I mean, I think about it all fucking week, but that doesn't help. Especially when I'm dicking around playing games and shit like that, you know? My god. This has been such a... I both love and hate this stream. It was so shit in the regards of, like, I wasn't able to express anything. I was so bad. But... the way that I just beat my head against wall, staring at code for so long, without ever testing the game. And then once I finally tested the game, the only thing that I needed to change was a fucking left-hand crocodile. Crazy. Crazy. Basically, all we did was just make it so that on this, where is it? Yeah, here. On this graph, at about 1.2 call it 1.3. All I've done is made it so that we can change where we want different enemies to appear on this curve. That's it. That's all we've done there. And as the rounds go on, this allows the game to have a larger budget for the different kinds of enemies. So, the X is essentially the round, but the Y, the 60 value there, that is now the cost. That is now the amount of money we have. Essentially. That is the amount of money the game has to spend on enemies to beat the piss out of us with. Using this guy's analogy. How'd he end up doing?
Cost, and do that until we have no points left. At the top of the script, we create yet another list to hold our generated enemies, which we will clear to ensure it's empty, and then assign at the bottom of our generate enemies function. I forgot to subtract the cost from our total.
Oh yeah, you can clear it. That's definitely a better... fuck it, who cares? We can revisit optimizations later. But that's it. That's beautiful. We have drop pods and a better spawning system working. I am very happy with that. So I think what I want to do next week is actually start trying to make the enemies look a little nicer. Yeah. Sorry, making weird noises. Alright, I'm gonna make another coffee. We're gonna keep streaming. But I'm gonna figure this out. I wanna keep going. And I'm thinking we're gonna do I don't think I'm gonna do any of this. So what I think I'm gonna do is dick around a little bit. And I wanna try and make this area look a little bit... Oh, not that one. Wrong one. I wanna try and make the area look a little bit nicer. Maybe set up a couple of in-game lights. Something like that. Just to make it look a little bit better on screen, hey? I think that would be something fun to do for the rest of the afternoon. Just to kill a little bit more time. Why not? Yeah. Fun. Alright, give me a second. How you doing, Racket Boy? Sucks how slow progress is on this game. You can't hear me. How you doing, buddy? You good? Oh, whoops. Why did I just put my sugar in the fridge? Another thing that I've been thinking about, something that I want to do, is a lot of the, like all the enemies and stuff like that. I think I want to try some kit bashing with some virtual kit bashing. Haven't done it IRL either, but yeah, no, I think it'd be fun. I reckon we could try and download like a bunch of different packs, or a bunch of different just shapes, essentially. Like, just different robotic-looking parts. And then we can just, like, fucking kit bash together a bunch of different things to create our own robots, I think. And then, I don't know, I'm on the fence about the players one. So I guess it depends on how cool we end up making them. But, yeah, I guess the player's character will just mirror the enemy characters. Maybe with just like different colored lights or something. You know, like we'll just have red light enemies and then blue light good guy, or green light. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I hope I've done this in a decent way. The biggest thing that I don't like about all this is this function right... Where the fuck is the enemy spawning? Oh. That was such a cute meow, Racky. But no, it's this function right here. So I don't like that I'm even doing multiple search attempts to find spawnable drop pods. What are you doing, buddy? Yeah, I know. You want to hop on my lap. I know. You definitely can't hop on my lap now, though, because the kettle's about to boil, and I'm going to be throwing you off my lap the second it does, because I got to go fucking... It's going to start screaming at us. You got about 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you had a little bit more than that. It's hard to predict when exactly the kettle's going to start screaming at me. 3, 2, 1. There it is. Let's go. Look out. There it is. Look out. Alright, I'm back again. Well, I know this has been a hell of a stream. It's been pretty shit. But I do really want to keep going. I do want to keep going. Was I still doing that, I don't know. So what do we want to do next? What do we want to do next? Do we want to make it pretty? Do we want to make upgrades unlockable? Do we want to modify the upgrade system? Do we want to make the enemies killable? So I'm holding off a little bit on the handle brute death animation because I want them to have their proper character model. What if... I really want to keep going, but I feel like maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't keep going. You know? It is 2 p.m. Grandma and Grandpa are going to want the internet soon, so... Maybe I just go on, work on editing or something. So I think I do need to figure some shit out first. But I like figuring it out on stream. I like having my thought process documented, even though sometimes it's a nightmare to follow. I know it's horrible to watch. I'm determined to get it to work, you know what I mean? But alright, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to call it here. But, next stream, we're going to work on kit bashing. That is going to be what we're doing. We're going to search the internet for any sort of free or cheap robot models. We may even make some of our own. But we are going to make enemy models. I think that's what we're going to do. Yeah. Alright, well anyway, thanks for watching. No one actually dropped in. But, yeah, anyway, we'll try again next time. I'm determined to get these fucking streams to not necessarily to do well. I don't necessarily want a lot of people coming in and watching them. I want to feel like I'm doing better as a streamer. That's it. I want to feel like I'm getting better at explaining the code that I'm trying to write. I want to get better at explaining everything. I just want to get better at it. You know what I mean? But anyway, if you made it this far, anyone that is possibly watching the VOD years in the future, I'll catch you later. See ya.